Hello everyone. So till others are joining, any doubts in whatever we discussed yesterday? I hope you have inserted your examples in the at the link that was provided, and I also hope um that you can probably try and search for such data sets. Okay, for practical, I don't know whether it will be feasible or not given the duration of the semester, but generally for practical I used to have this assignment. Okay, so take some real data set and then come carry out analysis for that data set and try and answer some interesting questions using that. Okay, so this used to be my practical assignment for multivariate analysis. So given the current semester, I don't know whether it is given the length of the current semester, I don't know whether it will be possible, but you can try that. Okay, so keep this in mind and try to locate some interesting multivariate data sets from the internet or maybe from some books, but there has to be some interesting question that can be answered using the techniques that we are going to learn. Okay, I did ask a couple of other questions. uh, I had used the word pseudo relationship and I had asked you to locate the more formal, rigorous terminology. Did anyone try that? When you have, I mean,
Hello, ma'am.
yes, who is this? May I know?
Ma'am,
Kushal.
I'm Kushal.
Yeah, tell me.
Ma'am, sometimes it is nonsense correlation or it is spurious correlation.
Correct. Spurious correlation is a more formal term. So many a times, as I said yesterday, because of the large size of the data, because of the large dimension, some of the variables are found to have significant correlation, when in reality that correlation may not really be that significant. Okay, so this is known as spurious correlation. Okay, so remember the term spurious correlation. Was there any other homework that I have forgotten? One thing was inserting examples, that I hope you must be doing or you might have done. Then this spurious correlation, locating this term. Was there any other homework? Okay, if not, let us start with the actual mathematical discussion of multivariate analysis. As I mentioned yesterday, we will be starting with descriptive kind of things first, and then we'll move on to the more inferential aspects. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Descriptive statistics is written. Can you see the whiteboard?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when you started in BSc, when you actually started studying statistics, the first thing that you learned probably was some graphs. So yesterday we talked about some graphs, and the next thing that you learned were descriptive statistics. So there were two types of descriptive statistics, some called as measures of central tendency and the others called as measures of dispersion. So in multivariate setup also we are going to have something similar. So we are going to talk about mean, median and mode etc. are much more difficult to talk about in the multivariate setup, so we won't go into those. We will talk about simple things like mean. Now first of all, how does my multivariate dataset look like? Okay, so let me take some example. So suppose I have person 1, person 2 up to say person 100, and for each person I have recorded their age, then I have recorded their height, and I have recorded their weight. Okay, and I have suppose recorded their blood pressure. So blood pressure will have two values, systolic blood pressure and then diastolic blood pressure. Okay, suppose these are the 5 variables on which I have recorded the data for these 100 people. Is it okay? Now in the multivariate scenario, we will call these as variables. Okay, these are my variables on which we are collecting the data, and these people are my observations. Okay, so generally we arrange the multivariate data in this format. Okay, so you have rows as observation, so every single row is one observation and every single column is one variable. So this is how my data matrix is going to look like. Okay, and this is important because when you start analyzing actual data, sometimes it might be in a transposed form, means you might have variables on rows and observations on columns. In that case, whatever formula we learn here would get changed. So it is better to stick to one notation. So we will generally stick to this notation, where in my data matrix every row is an observation. Okay, and every column is a variable. Okay, row is an observation and column is a variable, and the order of this data matrix is denoted by n cross p. So whenever we start with some notation, we say that we have n observations and p variables. Okay, these are also generally fixed, n for observation count and p for variable count. Is it okay? So we will try to stick to these notations throughout the course. Okay, so now from this data set I want to compute mean. How would I compute mean? So we okay, by the way, some of you might have started thinking that we were saying that we have a vector. Okay, so if I want to write this in the form of notation, I would say x is a vector which consists of x1, x2 up to xp. Here p is 5 prime. Why am I writing? Again, whenever we say vector in this course, we will refer to column vector. Okay, whenever we have a vector, we would treat it as a column vector. Column vector means it would have many rows but it would have only one column. Okay, so I would say the vector on which I am collecting this data is age, height, weight, systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure. Okay, now even though I am collecting data on a vector, my final data is in the form of a matrix. It is not in the form of a vector. Okay, this is not counterintuitive. I mean, you might feel, but it is not. Let me go to univariate setup. When you collect data in the univariate setup, so suppose you record only the heights, nothing else. So heights of say person 1, person 2, person 100. Now you have recorded single variable. Still, when you consider the data as a whole, this becomes a vector. Okay, because you have n observations, this becomes n cross 1 vector. It means that when you are collecting data on a single variable, even in that scenario, what you get is a vector. And as a result, when we are collecting data on multiple variables, like here, my data set actually becomes a matrix. Okay, it becomes a matrix where every row is an observation and every column is a variable. Is it clear how multivariate data would look like? Okay, I assume it is clear. Now I want to compute mean of this data. So I want to compute in some way mean of this matrix. Now one very crude and simple thought that comes to mind is, okay, take mean of all the observations. But then we have to take a step back and think, if I try taking mean of all these observations, it's not going to make sense, because my age might be recorded in say years and height might be recorded in say centimeters. Weight may be recorded in kilogram. So if I take mean of all these together, then I'm adding something which is in years to something which is in centimeter, which does not make any sense. You can't add years to centimeters. You can't add centimeters to kilograms. Okay, it doesn't make sense. So what makes sense? Keep the things unit consistent. So if I have age in a single column, then I can try to take mean of all these entries in the matrix. Okay, mean of all these entries in a matrix would give me something like mean age. Is it okay? Is it making sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I have 100 people and I have ages of each of them. So if I take mean over all those 100 entries corresponding to age, I will get mean age. Similarly, if I take mean over these 100 entries, I will get mean height. Then I take mean over these entries, I get mean weight, and so on. Okay. So what I am getting is a mean of individual column. So when I want to write it as mean of the entire data, I will have to represent it as a vector again. Okay. So if I introduce the notations, okay, so if I now, okay, start calling this as say x1. So age is x1, height is x2, weight is denoted by x3, this is x4, x5. So I have a vector x, okay, I have a vector x which consists of x1, x2 up to x5, and then when I try to compute their means, I will have x bar itself as a vector again. Okay, x bar would again be a vector where first component of that vector would be x1 bar, mean age, then second component would be x2 bar, mean height, and so on, x5 bar. Is it okay? So if my original vector was of order 5 cross 1, then my mean vector is also of order 5 cross 1. My original data is of order 100 cross 5. I have 5 columns, that is 5 variables. Hence I am getting my mean vector as 5 cross 1. Okay so far? Everyone with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is about sample mean. So I have a sample which I have represented in the form of an n cross p matrix, and I got p cross 1 vector as a mean vector. Okay, this is a sample mean. Now next step that we have to talk about is, of course, variance. Okay, as I said, we won't go into median or mode, etc. Geometric mean, of course, you can define in a similar fashion. You can take column wise geometric means and get a vector of geometric mean. Same thing with harmonic mean, but we don't need those. Now in variance, so again I have p variables. So I, just like mean, if this is my n cross p data matrix, I can take variance across each column. Okay, so this would become my variance of x1, sample variance of course. So I shouldn't use, let me call it say S1 square. Okay, sample variance, so let me call it S1 square. This would be S2 square, and so on. I would have SP square as sample variance computed from pth column. Is it okay? But as we discussed in the first lecture, when we have multivariate data, we would like to explore relationships between the variables also. Okay, so when I am talking about variance, I would be interested in covariances also, because I have many variables now. Okay, so we define what is called as sample dispersion matrix. Okay, we define what is called as sample dispersion matrix. I know some of you might have already studied these things, but I am repeating because we need to warm up before we start running. Okay, so this sample dispersion matrix, what would it have? So I have p variables, so x1, x2, xp, and I will also write them row wise, x1, x2, xp. So my entry here is corresponding to x1 and x1. So this actually would be variance of x1, so s1 square. The second entry from the diagonal would be x2, x2, so s2 square. Then I would have s3 square and so on. So the diagonal would become s1 square, s2 square up to sp square. Okay. Now for the off diagonal entries, this would correspond to x1 and x2. So I would have sample covariance of x1, x2, which I can probably denote by S12. Okay, so in general Sij is sample covariance between xi and xj. Okay, sample covariance between xi and xj. So this entry would be S21. And what do we know about covariance? It is symmetric, right? So I would have S21 and S12 to be equal. Everybody okay with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this sample dispersion matrix will have this property that it is going to be a symmetric matrix. Why? Because covariance is a sample covariance is a symmetric statistic. Covariance of x1, x2 is same as covariance of x2, x1. So this matrix would be symmetric. Its diagonal entries would be variances. So they can't be negative. Okay. So diagonal entries would actually be always greater than or equal to 0. Ideally, my notation for diagonal should also be SII. Okay, so that we are having a consistent notation throughout the matrix. So S1 square I can actually write as S11. Okay, to make our life easy. Is it okay? So this is sample um, dispersion matrix. Okay, and as soon as we talk about dispersion, the next thing that we would like to talk about is correlation. Why do I have to talk about correlation? Why can't I simply stop at covariance? Any idea? Now someone other than Kushal. Why can't I stop at covariance? Why do I need to go to correlation? Is anyone awake here? Or everyone is fast asleep? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Actually, ma'am, correlation explains the linear relationship between the any two variables as compared to variance. It explains the relationship between variables.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, correlation would also signify the strength of the correlation, the relation between the two variables, while covariance will only give us the direction in which it is related.
Okay, why? You're right, but why?
Because correlation is a scaled variable, so we have a specific limit and we can identify what is the strength.
Correct. See, in the case of covariance, I would never know whether something is really high. For example, so we have here height and weight as two variables, right? So we said that height is in centimeters and weight is in kilograms. So suppose I compute covariance between these two variables. So covariance between height and weight, and it turns out to be let's say 121, something like this. Okay. So someone who doesn't know much of statistics would say, okay, 121 is a very big number. So probably height and weight are very highly correlated. Now I give the same data set, exactly same data set, same observations to another person, and I ask him, okay, please convert heights into meters before you compute the covariance. So now height is in meter and this is still in kilogram. So now covariance between height in meters and the weight in kilograms, what would be the effect of change of scale? What is the effect of change of scale on covariance? You learnt it in BSc. Yes?
Directly proportional, it would reduce.
It would reduce. Okay, so meter to centimeter when I go, what would happen? centimeter to meter means I am dividing by 100. So this covariance is same as covariance of original height by 100 and original weight. Am I right? So this will be 1 by 100 times covariance between original height and weight. So this would be 1.21. Correct? And now even though I have exactly same data set, just because I have changed units, I might be tempted to conclude that the covariance is not very high, because 121 looked like a high value to me, but compared to that 1.21 is a very low value. So change of unit would give you a different conclusion, and that ideally should not be the case if you are talking about the same data. Hence we go for correlation, because correlation is a scaled variable. Okay, so correlation when you scaled statistic, not variable. So when I compute correlation, again I am talking about sample correlation as of now, whether I compute correlation with original height or whether I compute correlation with height in meters, I will get exactly same value, and value will always be between -1 and +1. So we would know that okay, values near +1 are high, values near -1 are also high in magnitude, but values near 0 are insignificant. Is it okay? So change of unit would not affect my conclusions. Hence, I can't stop at covariance. I need to go to correlation. And just like we had a dispersion matrix, we would have a correlation matrix. Okay. So we would have a sample correlation matrix for multivariate data. Okay. Which would be, so here again I would have say x1, x2, xp and x1, x2, xp. So correlation of x1 with x1 would be 1. Correlation of x2 with x2 would be 1. So diagonal would always be 1. And this here I would have correlation between x1, x2. Here I would have correlation between x2, x1. And again correlation is symmetric. So my sample correlation matrix will also be symmetric. Okay. And here one more property I have, all the diagonal entries would be equal to 1. Okay. And off diagonal entries would always be between -1 to +1. Okay. So if I denote C as the correlation matrix, Cij would always be between -1 and +1. Is it okay? Okay so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, homework is try to find relationship between sample dispersion matrix and sample correlation matrix. Okay. Try to see if you can relate them with each other. Okay. That is homework. And let us take a break of 2 minutes and we'll meet again in 2 minutes. Okay. Okay, let us start again. So now we have to talk about expectation of a random vector. So we discussed basic descriptive statistics, but when we later go from descriptive to inferential, we will need things like population mean, population variance, etc. So for that we will define expectation and variance for random vector, and we will also define expectation for a random matrix. Okay. Can you see my screen, whiteboard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we have to define expectation of a random vector. So now I am not talking about data as such, I am talking in terms of population. So suppose again I have a vector x whose components are x1, x2, xp. Okay, so I have a p cross 1 vector, and now I have to define expectation of this p cross 1 vector. In the case of sample mean, we saw that it makes more sense to take mean of every component and then join them together in the vector form and call it a sample mean. So we will do exactly same thing here. I would define expectation of a vector x as a vector which is prepared by taking
कधी काही होऊ शकतं खाल्लं.
mic on.
Okay. Expected x2 up to expected xp. So, expectation of a random vector is a vector of expectations of the components. Did you get what I am saying? Let me repeat. Expectation of a random vector is simply a vector prepared by taking expectations of the individual components. So it is again having the same length p. Okay. So remember, each of these is a scalar value. Okay, because x1 is a single variable, x2 is a single variable. So each of these is a single value. Okay. So this is how we define expectation of a random vector. Similarly, if I want to define expectation of a random matrix, we go in exactly similar fashion. So expectation of a random matrix. By the way, when would we have a random matrix? Okay, so you have something called as matrix valued random variables also. In multivariate analysis, when we talk about say multivariate normal etc., we mainly talk about vector valued random variables, but there is a concept of matrix valued random variables also. And why do you need it? Let me give you a simple example. Just now we defined sample dispersion matrix, right? And in the univariate setup, when you go to inference, you know, we want to talk about whether a given estimator is unbiased or not, whether a given estimator is consistent or not, and so on. Okay. So in univariate setup, when you define say sample variance, we prove that if you take denominator n minus 1, then with that denominator n minus 1, expectation of S1 square is actually your population variance, let's say V1. Okay, so you say that S1 square is unbiased for V1. But now in the multivariate setup, I have a matrix as my dispersion. Okay, so if I want to talk about properties of this estimator as a whole, then I have to talk about properties of this matrix, whether expectation of this matrix is same as the population variance covariance matrix. Okay, hence I need to compute expectation of a matrix. Getting it? Yes, no, partially?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, let me try to explain again. See, do you remember unbiasedness?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we say that when you define sample variance as say S1 square is suppose 1 upon n minus 1 summation, let's say I have only one variable, so x1 minus x1 bar whole square, x1 I, okay, for ith observation, I going from 1 to n. So this is my definition of sample variance of x1. Okay, so we know that okay, expectation of s1 square actually becomes sigma 1 square. This is traditional notation. So s1 square we say is unbiased for sigma 1 square. Is it okay up to this point?
Yes.
Okay, now if I have to go ahead and talk about whether expectation of sample dispersion matrix is it same as population dispersion matrix. Why would I want to talk about this? Because I want to check whether my sample dispersion matrix is unbiased for population dispersion matrix or not. Does the question make sense? I would like to check that because I want to check whether my estimator is good or bad.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now if I want to do this, then I should be able to compute expectation of a matrix. Correct?
Yes, yes.
So that's why we need to study expectation of a random matrix also. So I'm just explaining the point why we are studying expectation of a random matrix. That's all. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So in future, if we want to do something like this, I need to know how to compute expectation of a matrix. So far I have learned computing expectation of a vector only. Okay. Okay, so now again the definition is very simple. So suppose I have a matrix, let me use the notation now, M. Suppose M is a matrix. By the way, I will try to use this type of tilde notation for a matrix and underline for a vector. Okay. So suppose this is a random matrix. So I have entries here M11, M12 up to say M1k, then M21, M22, M2k, and Mn1 up to say Mnk. Then expectation of the matrix M is again simple. It is defined as matrix of expectations of the components. Is it okay? What I am doing is simply taking expectation inside the matrix. So I would say expectation of a matrix is same as expectation of is same as the matrix of expectations of the individual components. Okay so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we have defined mean of a vector and mean of a matrix, and now we will talk about variance of a vector. Okay, we will talk about variance of a vector. So how do I talk about variance of a vector? So we have already discussed sample dispersion matrix. So this would be something similar. So this would have variance of x1, variance of x2 up to variance of xp as diagonal entries, then covariance between x1 x2 up to covariance between x1 xp, then here covariance between x2 x1, then x3 x1 up to covariance between xp x1, etc. Okay, so this is how my variance covariance matrix would be defined. But how do you obtain it? You know, in univariate setup we have some formula for variance of x. So variance of x we define as expectation of x minus expected x whole square, right? So do we have something similar in the multivariate setup? That we need to check. So let me introduce some more notations. Suppose expectation of x we are going to denote by say mu x. Okay, expectation of x, let me denote by mu x. So if x is a p cross 1 vector, then mu itself is also a p cross 1 vector. Okay, so now I want to define variance of x. So the natural extension of univariate would be, okay, take x square. But when you have a vector, taking square is not possible. What do you mean by square of a vector? So what we do is we consider x minus expected x. So expected x is mu x, and instead of taking square, I can't take square because order of this is p cross 1. So I can't multiply a vector by itself. A p cross 1 vector cannot be multiplied with another p cross 1 vector. So we have to do some adjustments. So what adjustment can I do? I can make transpose of the next thing. So the order would now be 1 cross p. So now they are compatible for product. I have p cross 1, 1 cross p. So overall it would become p cross p. Making sense? So we are simply trying to extend what we know in univariate to multivariate, and wherever we find difficulties we try to modify the formula. So we can't take square, so we made it x minus mu x into x minus mu x transpose. Okay, so this is prime means transpose. So it became P cross 1 into 1 cross P. So it becomes P cross P. Now let us check whether it actually gives me the matrix that I want. So let me try to write down. So expectation of x minus mu x, I can write using the formula above. X minus mu x first component, then x2 minus mu x2 up to xp minus mu xp. I am not doing anything complicated. I am simply writing x minus mu x in a vector form. Okay, and this would become x1 minus mu x1, x2 minus mu x2, I need one more bracket here, up to xp minus mu xp. Is it okay? Now let us take the product. So what would I have? I am keeping expectation outside. So first entry would be x1 minus mu x1 into x1 minus mu x1. So this would become x1 minus mu x1 square. Entry here, so first row second column would be x1 minus mu x1 into x2 minus mu x2. So x1 minus mu x1 into x2 minus mu x2. So on, last entry in this row would be x1 minus mu x1 into xp minus mu xp. Is it okay? Same way, I go on further and my last row would have xp minus mu xp into x1 minus mu x1 and so on, and last entry would be xp minus mu xp whole square. Okay, and now so we are in the form of expectation of some matrix. So here is another instance why I need expectation of a matrix. Now expectation of this matrix would be, by the formula that we saw just now, matrix of expectations of the individual components. So I have x1 minus mu x1 square. Okay, then expectation of x1 minus mu x1 into x2 minus mu x2 and so on. Okay, so what are these? These are now what we want. So my diagonal entries are actually univariate formulae for variances. So this is my variance x1. This is my covariance of x1, x2 from the univariate setup. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So this does give me what I want. Hence, I would define variance of x as this matrix, the required matrix, and the formula to compute it is this: x minus mu x into x minus mu x whole prime. Okay. Now same story I can do with correlation. I can define population correlation matrix as exactly similar to sample correlation matrix. So I would have diagonal entries as correlations, so 1 1 1 correlations of the variables with themselves, and then off diagonal entries would be correlations with the correlations of xi xj. Now so I have now two homeworks for you. The first one was to find relationship between sample correlation and sample dispersion, and it would be exactly similar to another relationship. So homework is finding relationship between covariance. By the way, dispersion matrix is also known as simply covariance matrix or variance covariance matrix. All these names are used. Okay. So finding relationship between variance covariance matrix and correlation matrix. Okay. You have to try and find it in two ways. One way is simple, you use component wise things, so you can actually write down the formula for correlation in terms of covariance and variance, so everything is done. But I also need a formula in the matrix notation. So if I have a variance covariance matrix and if I have a correlation matrix, can I do some operation on them to get correlation matrix from variance covariance matrix? Okay, so this is another homework. Okay, now so what all we have talked about today? So we have talked about first sample mean, then sample variance, and then sample correlation matrix. Sample variance is again a matrix, so it is known as either sample dispersion matrix or sample variance covariance matrix. And then we also studied population mean in terms of a vector, so mean of a vector, then mean of a matrix, and then we also studied variance of a vector. Okay, we won't go for variance of a matrix as of now. We need to do one more small thing. In the case of in univariate setup, we have some simplification for the variance formula. So if you have variance as expectation of x minus, okay, something is wrong, x minus mu x square, then you know this can also be written as expectation of x square minus mu x square. Do you remember this simplification? I mean, assuming what I have written is correct. So can we try and simplify in a similar manner in the multivariate setup? So let me try that. So we defined variance of x as expectation of x minus mu x, all these are vectors, into x minus mu x prime. So can we try and simplify in a similar way? So let me try. So x minus mu x I would write as it is, and x minus mu x prime I can write as x prime minus mu x prime. Okay, prime I can take inside the bracket because it's just it's not a product, it's just subtraction. Okay, so this becomes what? Expectation of x prime minus x mu x prime. I am simply taking product of the two brackets, minus mu x prime minus mu x prime. Okay, so far everyone with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let me take expectation. So if I want to now compute expectation, I can take expectation inside this bracket because things are linear. So I would say expectation of okay, I should not forget that these are all vectors. Yeah, expectation of x prime minus, okay, so I have now expectation of x into mu x prime. So I know mu x is a constant, so I can possibly write this as expectation of x into mu x prime. So I can possibly keep mu outside the expectation. I am saying possibly because we have not yet proved it. Then same thing I can repeat here probably. So it would be this, and these are anyway free from variables, these are constant, so this would remain as it is. Okay, now
Madam.
Yes, Inda.
Hello, madam.
Yes.
Madam, the last sign should be positive then.
Oh, sorry. Thanks. Last sign should be positive. It is minus into minus, so it should be plus. Thanks. Okay. So now this is another homework. When I have expectation of a vector into another vector, but the another vector is constant, can I keep that other vector outside? Okay. This is homework, and this is also homework. Why do I need two homeworks? Because you know we are in a matrix multiplication setup, so a into b is not same as b into a, so I need to prove both ways. If the constant vector is in the right position and if the constant vector is in the left position, then in both these cases can I take the constant vector outside? This is homework. Okay, reaching from this step to this step is homework. Similarly, reaching from this step to this step is homework. Okay. Okay, so currently I am assuming it is possible. Okay, so expectation of x would become mu x prime. Similarly, this would become mu x, and now expectation of x prime I can write as mu x prime. This is third homework. Third in this, I have already given you one more homework. Okay, so expectation of a transpose of a vector is same as transpose of expectation of that vector. Let me repeat. Expectation of transpose of a vector you have to prove is same as transpose of expectation of that vector. Okay, so this is one more homework. Plus mu x prime is as it is. So this would get cancelled. Thanks. If I had made a mistake, if I had continued with my mistake, this would not have got cancelled. So this is similar to what you have in the univariate setup, simplification. So x square is of course becoming x prime, and mu x square is becoming mu x prime. Okay, but that way we have simplified the formula for variance. Is it okay? Whenever you are doing such derivations in multivariate, you have to make sure that the orders are alright. So x is of order p cross 1, this is 1 cross p, so overall things are of order p cross p. Same story here, p cross p, and my left hand side is variance covariance matrix, so it is also of order p cross p. So we have not made any mistake in the order. Is it okay? Okay so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt? Okay, if there is no doubt, okay, so then let me stop here for today. I have given you a couple of homeworks. Do try to work those out before tomorrow's lecture probably. Okay. Tomorrow also let me try and meet live, and then from next week we'll have some live lectures and some recorded lectures. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.